Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Going Viral, the podcast where we deep dive into a new virus every week. I'm Dylan.
And I'm Jade. And today, we're finally talking about rabies. Like the rabies. The one we all heard about as kids when we were told, don't touch that squirrel, or you'll get rabies.
Seriously, growing up, rabies was the OG monster under the bed. But, we didn't really know what it was. Just that it was bad and somehow involved foaming at the mouth.
Right? So today we're breaking it down. What even is rabies? How does it work? Why is it basically a death sentence if you don't get treated in time? Let's start from the beginning.
Alright, so rabies is caused by a virus called Rabies lysovirus, or just RABV. That's the specific strain that infects mammals. Genus Lysovirus, family Rhabdoviridae.
So, this virus is ancient, like ancient. Aristotle literally described rabies around 400 BC, and Hippocrates, he might have mentioned it too. Fast forward to the 1800s in France, 1880s to be specific, and Louis Pasteur and Emily Rowe developed the first rabies vaccine, which was a total game changer.
Honestly, Pasteur was the MVP of microbiology. Without him, rabies might still be a guaranteed death sentence. We like guarantees, but not like that.
Okay, so let's talk about transmission. Rabies spreads through the saliva of infected animals. So thick bites or even deep scratches. Once it's in your body, the virus travels like a ninja.
That's stealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it starts at the site of the bite, then it travels through your muscles and nervous system until it hits the brain. That's when things go south fast.
Exactly. At that point, it causes encephalitis or brain inflammation. Then it spreads to the salivary glands, which is why infected animals start foaming and they become super aggressive. It's like the virus is hijacking their body to spread more.
As for hosts, rabies affects all mammals. So raccoons, bats, skunks, dogs, cats, even humans. But humans, we're usually accidental hosts. We don't spread it ourselves. We just suffer the consequences.
And what about that incubation period? It's actually super variable. It can be weeks to months, depending on how close that bite is to your brain and how much virus got in it. Now that's wild.
Crazy. Early on, people don't show symptoms. But then comes the prodromal phase. Basically flu vibes. Fever, chills, fatigue.
And after that comes the neurological phase. I bet you can guess what that is. It's about seizures, hallucinations, and hydrophobia. Also excessive saliva and muscle spasms. It's horrifying to witness.
That's scary. Hydrophobia is weird. It's not just a fear of water. It's actually painful throat spasms that make it impossible to swallow. That's why rabid patients freak out at the sight of water. I can't imagine never going in the water again. It's terrifying.
I know. I like the lake way too much. So, let's hit some real world cases now. First up, Joseph Meister. He's a kid from 1885 who got bitten 14 times by a rabbit dog. Louis Pasteur, you remember him?
No.
No? He gave the experimental vaccine to this kid. 12 doses in 10 days. Isn't that ridiculous?
That's a lot of doses.
But it worked. He survived. Total hero origin story.
Then we have Jeanne Geis. This girl from Wisconsin was bitten by a bat in 2004. That's the year I was born.
Oh,
And
you're a child.
Didn't get the vaccine. When symptoms kicked in, it was too late. But doctors tried an experimental coma treatment, and she survived. First ever to beat rabies without the vaccine.
She's the reason that rabies doesn't have a 100% success rate.
Goat of rabies right there.
Mm-hmm. Then there's the 2021 Minnesota case. 84-year-old guy bitten by a bat. He did get the vaccine, but still died. Turns out he had an undiagnosed immune deficiency. Shows that even with treatment, rabies, not a joke.
What was an 84-year-old guy doing near bats? I think he was cave exploring.
Probably.
Indiana Jones right here.
I mean, maybe it was just in his attic.
That's true. That's a good point. So, let's dive into vaccination and see how it was created. To do that, let's rewind to the 1800s because, believe it or not, the story of rabies vaccination starts there. Ever heard of Louis Pasteur?
Duh, Dylan. He's the germ guy, right?
Oh, yeah. Exactly. He basically kickstarted vaccines as we know them. In 1885, he developed the first ever rabies vaccine. He used infected animal nervous tissue, dried it out to weaken the virus, and then tested it on humans.
Which sounds totally sketchy now. But at that point, it was groundbreaking. And yeah, some early patients maybe still got rabies, but it was a huge step forward overall.
Fast forward to today, the science has seriously leveled up. Now, rabies vaccines are made of using human diploid cells or purified chick embryo cells. Super clean, super safe, way cooler than infected animal nervous tissue.
And they work really well, like nearly 100% effective if you get treated right after exposure.
How do you think they come up with these things?
How do you think they got to chick embryo cells?
That's a good point. Like, why chickens?
I don't know. Poor chicks.
Right? So what happens if you do get bit? Here's the current treatment plan. Step 1, clean the wound ASAP. Like soap, water, the whole 9 yards. Step 2, you get a shot of something called Hrig.
How do you spell Hrig?
H-R-I-G. Hrig is the human rabies immune globulin.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Hrig. Then you start the vaccine series. 4 doses, day 0, day 3, day 7, and day 14. If someone's exposed, they get a combo of Hrig, that is the human rabies immune globulin. Again,
in case
you were wondering, that's Hrig. It's basically a flood the body with antibodies ASAP kind of deal. And let's be real, nobody wants a 4-shot series in the middle of a health scare. But compared to like dying, it's not that bad. I'd take 4 shots.
Exactly. Plus the shots today aren't in the stomach like they used to be back in the day. You get them in your arm. So science wins again.
Science won, rabies 0.
And if you've got a weak immune system, they'll even throw a 5th dose in for extra protection at no extra charge.
No way. I want that 5th dose.
No, you don't.
But it's free.
True. You can't go wrong with a little extra protection.
A little extra. Here's the terrifying part, though. Once symptoms show up, it's game over. You lose on the spot. Dunzo. Rabies is basically 100% fatal if you don't get treated in time.
But don't forget about that coma case.
99.9999% fatal.
Yep, once it hits your brain, there's no cure. Which is why early treatment is everything. And it must be given before symptoms start. Once the virus hits the brain, it's actually over.
Game over?
Game over.
Dunzo. Also, shout out to public health teams and vets out there. They're the real heroes. Because thanks to vaccines and pets and wildlife programs, human rabies cases are super rare in lots of countries now.
Still, if you get bitten by a random animal, don't play around. Get to a doctor immediately.
I'm going to mess around and see what happens. See if I start getting a little foam at the mouth.
You would think that's cool, didn't you? Studying rabies is tough, though. The virus can't get sick. It doesn't catch diseases itself. And if you can't really culture it easily in the lab, it's not like bacteria. So scientists rely on animal models and molecular virology.
Like the chick embryo. Maybe that's where the
Exactly.
chicken comes in. See, I always thought chickens were for, eating, not for science, but what do I know? I'm not a scientist. It is well studied, though. There are thousands of citations in biological journals every year. And there are a ton of RABV gene sequences logged in GenBank, if you want to nerd out.
Rab.
I know Jade's going to go nerd out after this in GenBank.
Oh, without a doubt. So, did you actually know that there's 59,000 deaths every year caused by rabies? But
Whoa!
they're mostly in Asia and Africa. It's rare in the US thanks to pet vaccines, but it's still a huge issue globally. Economically, though, there's millions spent on vaccines, surveillance, and animal control.
That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
The CDC and World Health Organization still consider it a... Who?
Are you an owl, Dylan?
I might be a rabbit owl.
You better hope you're not a chick.
The CDC and WHO still consider it a priority zoonotic disease. So yeah, it's a pretty big deal, even if it feels like an old school virus.
Okay, so now some fun facts. Did you know
Oh boy.
that rabies can be spread by organ transplants? Hey Dylan, do you know what kind of transplant could spread rabies?
Maybe transplanting, like, you said an organ, so like a lung, maybe the liver.
No, actually it's a cornea transplant.
What?
Isn't that crazy?
How does that make any sense?
I don't know. I guess it's close to your brain.
Jeez. Also, did you know that vampire bats in South America are major rabies spreaders?
Like literal bats?
Oh yeah, like vampire bats that suck your blood. Nature's wild. We're talking Hotel Transylvania here.
Holy cow. What we don't know about this virus is why the symptoms show up so late and why it travels so slowly through your body. If we could figure that out, we might be able to develop some better treatments.
What's it taking its time for?
I don't know.
If you're a virus, don't you want to get the job done and knock out the patient? But no, it's hanging out.
It's just hanging out.
Rabies is kind of a chill virus. Maybe I want to hang out with rabies.
You go do that.
I read that some countries still do aerial vaccine drops for wildlife using edible vaccine baits. That's kind of cool. Whoever came up with that is genius. We're talking helicopters literally dropping vaccines wrapped in meat snacks for raccoons.
I would like to formally apply to be a raccoon.
You would be a raccoon. So yeah, rabies is the definition of don't play around if you think you got exposed. You should seek help immediately because timing with something like this is everything. Like we said, rabies is kind of a chiller. It just likes to hang out, so...
It likes to hang out until it doesn't like to hang out.
Until it takes over. So you better take precautions and get checked right away if you're suspicious.
And hey, vaccinate your pets. Don't mess around with wild animals. Be cautious, but not paranoid. And maybe just try and stay away from the bats, okay, Dylan?
We'll see. I mean, when I go cave exploring, you can't really blame me. I mean, that old guy acting like Indiana Jones and following his footsteps.
I know you want to be Indiana Jones, but we gotta stay away from the wild animals.
Got the hat and the boots already. I just need the whip.
Oh my goodness.
Honestly, rabies is a good reminder that not all ancient diseases are extinct. Just because it's not a front page news doesn't mean it's not lurking.
Yeah, it's like the world's deadliest throwback. Even worse than your throwback videos. Come on, respect the virus.
We all had Vine Musically at some point, don't blame me.
Yeah, let's go watch some of your Musicallys and see what's more deadly. But also, respect the science that keeps it in check.
That's
and
a
the
good
virus. But don't respect the Musically.
Like I said, rabies is kind of a chiller. Respect it. Well, all right, guys. That's it for this episode of Going Viral. If you liked it, please follow us, leave a rating, and send it to your bio nerd friends like Jay.
Well, we'll catch you next week when we talk about another disease that makes rabies look not so bad. Kinda. Maybe?
Is it going to be as chill as rabies, though?
Probably not.
Guess we don't know. Thanks, guys. Stay safe.
Stay curious.